I was driving home late one night after a long shift at work. The roads were empty, and I was looking forward to getting home and finally getting some rest. I was driving through a quiet neighborhood when I saw something strange out of the corner of my eye. Standing under a flickering streetlight was a clown. He was dressed in a full clown outfit, complete with oversized shoes, a red nose, and a creepy painted smile. He was just standing there, not moving, and staring directly at my car as I drove past. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I tried to brush it off as some sort of weird prank. I continued driving, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I glanced in my rearview mirror and saw the clown was now in the middle of the road, still staring at my car. I sped up, eager to put as much distance between us as possible. After a few minutes, I started to relax, thinking it was just a bizarre encounter. But then I saw something that made my blood run cold. Another clown was standing at the end of the street, directly in my path. This clown was holding a large, menacing balloon and waving slowly as if mocking me. I swerved to avoid him and sped down a side street, heart pounding. I didn't stop until I reached my driveway. I quickly got out of the car and rushed inside, locking the door behind me. The next morning, I checked the local news and online forums for any reports of similar sightings, but there was nothing. It seemed like no one else had seen these clowns. I started to doubt my own experience, wondering if it had all been a stress-induced hallucination. A few nights later, I was coming home late again. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread as I approached the same neighborhood. My heart pounded as I turned onto the street, but to my relief, it was empty. I let out a sigh, thinking maybe it was all in my head. But just as I was about to turn onto my street, I saw them again. This time, there were 3 clowns standing in a row, blocking my path. Their painted smiles seemed even more sinister in the moonlight. I floored the gas pedal and swerved around them, my heart racing. When I finally reached home, I ran inside and locked all the doors and windows. I couldn't understand why they were there or what their intentions were. I called the police, but without any concrete evidence, they couldn't do much. I never saw the clowns again, but the experience left me deeply unsettled. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Whenever I drove through that neighborhood, the memory of their eerie smiles and silent stares still haunts me. My younger sister was having her 6th birthday party, and my parents decided to hire a clown to entertain the kids. I was a teenager at the time and thought the whole idea was a bit cheesy. But my sister was excited, so I went along with it. The clown arrived on time, dressed in bright colors with a big red nose and an exaggerated smile painted on his face. He started with some simple tricks and balloon animals, and the kids loved it. But as the party went on, I noticed something odd about him. Whenever he looked at the adults, his smile seemed forced and his eyes cold and calculating. At one point, he caught me staring and gave me a wink that sent chills down my spine. I tried to shake it off, but the uneasy feeling grew stronger. As the clown prepared for his grand finale, he asked for a volunteer from the audience. My sister eagerly raised her hand, and he chose her. He pulled out a large, colorful box and asked her to step inside. The box was supposed to make her disappear and then reappear, a classic magician's trick. He closed the box and waved his hands dramatically, but something went wrong. When he opened the box again, my sister was gone. The kids laughed, thinking it was part of the act, but the adults started to get worried. The clown seemed flustered and quickly closed the box again, trying to fix the trick. Minutes passed, and my parents demanded to know where my sister was. The clown's cheerful demeanor faded, and he became agitated. Suddenly, he grabbed the box and bolted towards the gate. My dad chased after him, but the clown dropped the box and ran off into the distance. When my dad opened the box, my sister was inside, scared but unharmed. The police were called, but they never found the clown. It turned out he had given a fake name and contact information. To this day, we don't know who he was or what his intentions were. But the memory of that terrifying moment still haunts us. In the days following the incident, my sister had nightmares about the clown. She would wake up screaming, convinced he was coming to take her away again. My parents did their best to comfort her, but the fear lingered. We eventually moved to a new house, hoping a change of scenery would help her forget. While she did get better over time, the incident left a lasting mark on all of us. Even now, years later, any mention of clowns brings back those haunting memories. A few friends and I decided to explore an abandoned carnival on the outskirts of town. It had been closed for years, and there were rumors that it was haunted. We didn't believe in ghosts, but we thought it would be fun to check it out. We arrived just as the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the dilapidated rides and booths. The place had an eerie silence, and the once vibrant colors were now faded and peeling. We wandered around, taking pictures and joking about the carnival's spooky reputation. As we approached the funhouse, we heard a strange noise coming from inside. It sounded like laughter, but not the kind of laughter you'd expect at a carnival. It was low and sinister, sending shivers down our spines. Despite our unease, we decided to investigate. Inside, the funhouse was dark and filled with dusty mirrors and cobwebs. We used our flashlights to navigate the twisting corridors, but the laughter grew louder and more unsettling. We turned a corner and saw a figure in a clown costume standing at the end of the hall, illuminated by the dim light of our flashlights. At first, we thought it was a mannequin, but then it moved. The clown started walking towards us, and we could see its twisted grin and lifeless eyes. We panicked and ran back the way we came, the clown's laughter echoing behind us. We burst out of the funhouse and didn't stop running until we reached the entrance of the carnival, out of breath and terrified. We glanced back and saw the clown standing in the doorway, watching us. It didn't follow, but the image of its creepy smile was burned into our minds. In the days that followed, we couldn't stop talking about the experience. Each of us had seen the clown's eyes in our nightmares, and the sound of its laughter seemed to echo in our heads. We debated going back to see if it was real or just our imaginations playing tricks on us. But fear won out. Eventually, we all moved on with our lives. But the memory of that night never fully faded. Even now, when we get together, someone will inevitably bring up the abandoned carnival and the creepy clown. The fear and unease from that night still linger, a chilling reminder of the unknown. I grew up in a rural area surrounded by woods. As kids, my friends and I would often play in the forest, exploring and building forts. One summer, we discovered an old, overgrown trail that we hadn't noticed before. Curiosity got the better of us, and we decided to follow it. The trail led us deep into the woods, farther than we had ever gone before. Eventually, we came across a small clearing with an old, abandoned cabin. The place looked like it had been deserted for years, but what caught our attention was the clown decorations hanging around the cabin. There were faded clown posters, rusted clown statues, and even a broken-down clown car. We were both intrigued and creeped out, but we decided to explore the cabin. Inside, it was dark and musty, with more clown memorabilia scattered around. As we were looking around, we heard a noise outside. We peeked through the cracked window and saw a clown, standing at the edge of the clearing, partially hidden by the trees. At first, we thought it was another decoration, but then it moved. The clown started walking towards the cabin, and we could see its painted face and twisted grin. Panic set in, and we scrambled to find a way out without being seen. We managed to slip out through a back door and ran as fast as we could through the woods, not daring to look back. We didn't stop until we reached the safety of our neighborhood. Out of breath and terrified, we told our parents what had happened. They were skeptical at first, thinking it was just our imaginations, but we were too scared to go back into the woods. A few days later, one of the kids' dads went to check out the cabin. He found the clown decorations, but there was no sign of the clown we had seen. He told us it was probably just an old Halloween setup that someone had forgotten about, but we knew what we saw. Even now, the memory of that clown in the woods haunts us. We never ventured that deep into the forest again, and the thought of what might have happened if we hadn't escaped still sends shivers down our spines. The woods, once our playground, became a place of fear and mystery.